Good morning, Gopichand sir. We are really thrilled and excited, and it's an honor to talk to you. We always used to read about you when we were young in India in the newspapers about your accomplishments, especially the Enadu newspaper, the last paper, Pullela Gopichand won this. And so you bring us a very, very sweet memories, and it's really an honor to talk to you. Myself and Mr. Kiran, we have been volunteering for more than 20 years with various organizations. But from 2008, we are fortunate to be associated with VT Seva. It stands for Volunteering Together for Service. It started by Sri Chinnajiyar Swamiji in US with main mission of empowering youth with volunteerism and philanthropy. And for past 12 years, we have been making a consistent progress in engaging youngsters from all over US. We have about 25 chapters. And round the clock, they volunteer their time and talent. And each and every program of our VT Seva is led by youth, and on any cultural programs or benefit events, youth are the primary face of the organization. We stay in the background and we try to help them in whatever capability we can. And we have mainly 4 main pillars. The most important one is education and empowerment of visually challenged children, right from kindergarten all the way to bachelor's degree. We have schools and colleges where the children apply for examinations that too using laptops without help of any scribes. It's pure empowerment. And then we also have schools for tribal children in Adilabad district area where Naxalism was very prominent in the olden days. That's where we have schools and we do support them. And we do support cancer screening for rural women, especially cervical cancer prevention. And last but not the least, disaster relief, whether it is a natural disaster, wherever it happens in the world, or even COVID kind of pandemic, we do our best to lend our hand. And in US itself, we volunteer in activities such as Adopt a Street or senior citizen home volunteering, or building homes for underprivileged people, feeding homeless children. So like there's a lot of activities happen throughout the year. So the main motto of our VT Seva in US is to empower youth with the concepts of volunteering and philanthropy where they feel motivated. So we have 2 upcoming events. One is this weekend where we are having National Youth Awards ceremony where we may have about 500 people attending it, all from all over the nation. And we have another event next weekend. It's an entertainment for charity event where we are raising funds to support education of about 300 tribal school children. So your message and our interaction with you based on your life experiences and your accomplishments will greatly benefit our organization and us. So that is our introduction. You have any questions, sir? Or
no, I think pretty much that's comprehensive. Thanks, thank you, Krishna Garu. Yeah. I'm so happy that all of you are doing so much in the US, and back home you're contributing so much. Of course, I think somebody like Chinnajiyar Swami who's there, I think his vision, I think surely should be guiding you in this wonderful work.
Yeah, we are fortunate to be mentored and inspired by Sri Chinnajiyar Swamiji on daily basis to do our little bit.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Sir, it's an honor to talk. It's an honor to talk to you, sir. Like talking to an Padma Bhushan awardee and Dronacharya awardee and Arjuna awardee. It's really a dream come true for us. So thank you for taking your valuable time in answering some of the questions that can be used as a motivation for our youth. We have a list of questions that we'll be going through, sir. Like the first question I would frame it as overcoming challenges. You excelled as a player from young age and later produced like so many champions out of the youngsters as a coach. And, to name a few of the proud accomplishments, you're winner of the All in England Open Badminton, Open Championship in France, Scotland, and Asian Championships. And, you brought like many laurels to the country, and also produced like 10 players who are in the top 20 ranking in the world is an amazing, an unbelievable accomplishment. From a VT Seva perspective, we empower visually challenged children, and we empower like thousands of tribal children. Both have their strengths and weaknesses. They overcome the physical challenges or the amenities challenges growing up in tribal areas through their sheer determination to be successful. You have overcome many challenges that life has thrown at you, and found your passion of being the best badminton player the country has ever produced, and also molding the next generation through coaching. What message do you have for our children, and more importantly to many of our volunteers and coaches, in helping these children overcome many challenges that life has put in front of them, both from a physical standpoint and as well as like from a facility standpoint?
Well, I think I've been very fortunate that at a young age, there was a lot of support which I received from my parents, and also God's grace. A lot of things in my life, I've had my own challenges, but whenever I've had my challenges, I had God really helped me through somebody overcome those challenges. For me, I think from an individual perspective, I think to find our true nature and to find our true potential is something which would be very, very important for all of us. For the young people who have challenges in life, I think it's very important. It's almost very important that you work intensely on anything what you do. Because in my life, one thing I've clearly seen is that you don't know where you'll go, how far you'll go. But what you can do at the moment is to push yourself to the limit every day, and the months and the years and life takes care of itself. I think for all of us, we don't know whether the education which we are studying is useful to us in life, whether the sport which you play will be your career or should end abruptly. But one thing is sure, but the attitude with which you work, if done, will actually benefit immensely. So I would really think that we don't know what the future holds, but I think to do things passionately and to do things without thinking of profit and loss would be a very important aspect. And that's what I've seen, because growing up in Hyderabad, we didn't have really a national champion coming from Hyderabad. So even if I really had a dream, it would have never been to become an All England champion or to make players into world level athletes. It would have been much lesser. But the very fact that I didn't know, I didn't dream, I didn't think of anything, I just thought of putting all my energies for today is what really helped. And what I've reached today is not been something, and I'm not also somebody who believes in goals. I just believe that you have to have your work ethic sorted, and you have to push yourself passionately every day, day in and day out, and not look at profit and loss as an equation. You just do anything intently, and it has a lot of value later in life.
Thank you. That's wonderful advice, Gopichand sir. Since you mentioned about the importance of work ethics, definitely our volunteers and youngsters will benefit a lot. Now, another question, since you talked about Hyderabad and the background that we did not have a national level champion produced from our city, I know based on reading about you, that we did not have good facilities to produce good players back then. So in terms of lack of support, causing obstacles to many badminton enthusiasts, or even in general for any folks in the life, for example, our underprivileged, visually challenged children, or tribal school children, what is the role of supporters such as donors and volunteers in this society?
I think facilities support is important from our perspective. Give back is something which is fulfilling to us and which is very important for us. I think it's not the story on the other side. I think it's a story on our side first. And to keep this in perspective is very important. We give because we benefit from it. The other way around, I think the others don't benefit, or maybe they benefit, but it's for sure that we benefit from giving out, because that's the nature in which the environment, the nature is designed. When you give, you get a lot more. So that's that's the primary reason why we should give, and not because they benefit, but I think it is fulfilling and enriching for us in the first place. Second thing is, facilities are never a burden for us to achieve what we want. The kind of drive we have is very, very important. There are actual challenges when people are hungry, when people's families are dying, then this whole thing reverses to another level. I think it's a responsibility then to ensure that people get out of that state of total lack of support and just put them on a track where they can start to look or think and aspire, not be in a panic zone all the time, or not firefighting all the time. So it's important for that perspective of that segment of society to have enough to eat and a safe home to sleep. I think that is the very basic fundamental thing we need. The second thing is there are challenges. There are challenges on an everyday basis. I would really think for all of our young volunteers or our people who are having challenges, to go back and think of it as, when I write my book, this will be a story. And the harder the hardship, the better the story is. I think somewhere, to feel the gladiator in you come out and to be prepared to, at the end of my life, I will have a story to tell. Or at the end of this journey, I'll have a story to tell. Is a way of actually going through those challenges, the spirit of fight, because you, in your mind, have to believe, have to know that eventually you're a winner. And this hardship is only going to make my story a lot more sweeter to tell. And that aspect is very important. So you have to play the game knowing that you're going to win the game. And this is only a momentary setback which is going to come. I think that into perspective is very, very important.
I could listen to your speeches like for days together, sir. Like, and I've been watching your interviews, just preparing for this interview. It kind of like takes you into a meditative trance, like listening, hearing you speak, in this tone and in this frequency that you, give the messages. So thank you. Based on the question that you, the previous question, sir, but I mean, one of the things that what we are trying to do is like similar to the concept of physical literacy that you're driving. There is a compassion literacy part of it, like is what we are trying to drive, and that is our mission for our organization. So I have a question on compassionate leadership. In our society where survival of the fittest is seen as a strength, right? And compassion and caring for others always comes as the last option, right? Or that is something that not encouraged in this competitive world. Now, we are an organization who are trying to bridge this gap and develop this quality of compassion along with the leadership excellence, and through the community services that we do, through the philanthropic activities that we do, through some of the internship programs that we do, etc. So we wanted to hear from you on why compassion is an essential part of quality of being a leader, and what as a society or the future generation can we do to develop this naturally.
I think for us, the yardsticks of success need to be redefined, because for us, for any organization, for any student, for any job, we look at it very differently. A job where you work less and get paid more, an organization which actually gives you a product and charges you more, are seemingly more profitable, in better jobs, more profitable ventures. I think that needs to change, where money is a yardstick for success. A great teacher, a great guru may not be necessarily called as successful. Not many of our kids want to be teachers. They want to be an entrepreneur or a VC or a businessman, or that kind of a perspective. You want them to be recognizing what is important, and that is important. So for me, to have kids who understand the concepts, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita at 10 age, 11, to know about the scriptures and to understand what is the value of each of these things is very important. To understand the value of physical things, and they only have a certain value, is what is in. The second thing about leadership for me would be, you have to demonstrate leadership in your life, and that is very, very important. You have to live your life in a way which people want to emulate. As a role model or a celebrity, it's a duty to actually believe and behave in a manner which is befitting for the kind of respect which society has given you. So that would be very, very important. So for me, for us as a society, we need to redefine things. We cannot have success measured by the existing parameters. We cannot, and I just had this thought, we can't have psychologists who read psychology from books. You have to read life and experience life to be a psychologist. In a certain sense, this is true with leadership as well. You have to demonstrate leadership not by your words, but by the way you live, and that would be very.
So thank you, sir. Again, each and every word makes so much sense. Coming to youngsters, right? Today, at the pace the digital technology is evolving, everything is available at the tip of the finger, right? So, and especially you deal with so many youngsters. I don't know what is the youngest age children start for the badminton training, but I know, having two boys, everybody has a mobile phone. Just a swipe of the finger can provide so much information or misinformation. How do we, as parents or even children themselves, motivate to make sure they're going in the right path?
Well, I think there are a lot of challenges. It's not easy. I deal with a lot of kids, and I know that digital is a challenge. But I think that's where I think we need to start looking at our own culture and find out ways in which we can integrate that into our lives. The Bhagavad Gita is a book which needs to be taught, part of education. Before class 10, they have to finish the Bhagavad Gita completely. The Mahabharata is a great example of how things are, and these are part of our culture, the lives of our our gods, the lives of our gurus. I think there's a lot to learn from that. And actually, we need to kind of go back to our culture to ensure that those things are ingrained into our kids' minds. Because today, what we are dealing with um, is a very different kind of a setup. Because and we find that in sport where you play and the kid wants the results immediately. And that's what he gets in a digital platform. He plays, he gets level 1, he plays a little while later, he gets some reward points. Again, there's the computer saying, well done, it gives you level 2, and then it gives you a badge. So I think those are very, very important things which actually indicate to us what we are competing against. Competing against an algorithm which is actually giving them continuous excitement and feedback, which is positive and which is emotionally addicting them to that. So I think we need to find out uh, wherever we can avoid it, we should avoid it. But since we can't altogether, I think it's very important to kind of get to a state where we need to start giving that kind of encouragement for our kids at every level. And also, it's very important that faith, I wouldn't say blind belief, but to actually question things in a rational manner and to actually respect what has already been done is very, very important. I think some things are very critical. Um, we in our country have got stuck more than anybody else because we are neither a communist China or a Japan or a Korea, that sense, nor are we a Western society in that sense. We are with an Indian education system and with a cultural background which is very strong roots with parents and grandparents and families moving in one direction where the education and the internet is moving you onto another direction. So you're looking at two different directions strongly pulling each other, and that's where the challenge is. I think we need to find the right paths, and the beauty of our country is whether it's Dear Swami or whether it's Sri Shri or um, heartfulness meditation or Isha Sadhguru. Also, in our own society, we were there, and I was there in uh, uh, the Nagarjuna University in Vijayawada, where we went, and next door we were at an ashram, and we went to that ashram, and the Mata there, she spoke for about half an hour, and we were about four foreigners and myself who went. They were shocked to see this kind of knowledge being available to us. Where in the Western world, you have to go pick it up to a psychologist, book a room, and who listen to it. I think we have a lot of our own strengths, and the COVID scenario has also seen what we have in terms of our Ayurvedic or a basic natural food system that are available. I think it's really important that we go back to our cultural roots, and that is where we have to fight this back with. And without that, I think we're just going to be on a different platform. It needs to be done at all levels, from parenting to society to education, the digital detox methods. We need to take all routes to ensure that our systems up and our kids up.
I could see Krishnakanji's face like glow up when you mentioned about having Bhagavad Gita as an essential part of learning before 10. He himself is a Bhagavad Gita teacher, and apart from like volunteering and all that, he teaches Bhagavad Gita to a lot of children and adults as well. And thank you so much for connecting it to how our educational system in Bharat is. Speaking about on the same context is like I have a question on the parenting and coaching, sir. Today's parents are more like coaches in the early ages, early and intermediate stages, as you mentioned in a couple of interviews, and they want their child or mentee to be very successful in a lot of things. And especially in America, they overload the children in all sorts of training, classes, coaching, etc. Think of like, chess, volleyball, cricket, and Bharatanatyam, all sorts of coaching. Like, they want like, the kids to be successful everywhere. And, having coached hundreds of children, like, how do you see this, and what is your recommendations to the parents, and more importantly to the branch directors, who we call, like, we have about 36 chapters across the US, and we have the branch directors and the youth directors coaching hundreds of children, both on social service and as well as like compassion and leadership. What is your recommendation to these parents and coaches?
It's very important that we load the kids. I think the kids can take a lot of load, and we push them is important. Them for what is push them for learning is perfectly acceptable and it should be done. Push them for success, push them for marks, push them to be number one is a problem. Push them to learn a lot of things is, I think, perfectly all right. To push them in the direction which they want to be pushed, they have an interest in, is very important. But many of us want to live our dreams through our children. Many of us want to make them do something because somebody else is doing it or somebody else is earning more money because of it. That becomes some kid is interested to do something, and I'm sure many kids will spend a lot of time in sport. Many kids might spend a lot of time with animals. Many kids might spend a lot of time with trees. Many kids might do it with robots or engineering. So I think wherever their interest is, I think to keep them to ensure that they don't have any time in between, but they're physically and mentally tired, and they just get to bed and they sleep is very important. So actually, I for one do believe that kids should be pushed, but where you push them and for what reason you push them be the most important.
Yeah, thank you once again. This would be, I think, almost final question, I would say. So from your such a long career as a player and also as a coach, do you recall any hilarious incident that would immediately bring laughter, not only smiles, I do see smiles on your face, but laughter to you based on so many years of experience in sports?
I think there would be instances where you've given a certain instruction to a student and the student has followed it to the T because he thought of it in a certain different sense. And it gives you a phenomenal result, and the kid is damn excited. But what you have said is exactly the opposite of it. Sometimes there was one instant like that where I told somebody to serve in the center of the court, and she actually served um, at a point which was the easiest point for the opponent to score a point, and some of the opponent missed it, and then the player was like, "Sir, I did exactly what you said, and it gave me great results." So some of these, one such incident. But in general, I think for me, it's been a great career in terms of the results and stuff on the other side of the kind of transformation we've been able to. But more importantly, on a personal front, I think I've loved every challenge. And the sport is amazing because when you think you know, I just gives you another dimension which you don't know. So you always stay humble because you always can be proved wrong. And this has happened so many times. And that for me is the greatest benefit or greatest gift which the sport has given. Is after 30 years or 35 years playing the sport, also you almost feel like a kid who's learning. And it's almost like when I was 13 and 14, I had the same feeling, and even today I have the same feeling. And that's the greatest part, the mystery of sport, the mystery of life. Really wonderful.
Sir, if you don't mind, like, I have like two more questions, right? I mean, I've seen number of interviews, a lot of high profile people have praised you to the sky, and yet you simply have this humbling smile, and you're always grounded in answering those questions and responding back. That, how do you do that? I mean, this is a message especially for the youth. um, you know uh, for the small amount of achievements, they kind of think they have achieved the world, but you on the other hand have achieved the world, and you're yet on the ground all the time. How do you make that possible and make it seem so simple?
Me, I think in Supreme God's grace and whatever I've achieved, and in my life, when I look at the entire sequence of events, I just feel and so strongly in the entirety of my life. So for me to own these results as my own, I actually feel guilty of it. So when I'm sitting, I just feel the strong feeling that these are all gifts which I've got, and I don't really own them or deserve them as much. So maybe that shows in the way I speak, but I only speak whatever comes to my mind. There's no preparation, there's no deliberate effort to make it. Maybe my parents, the way my upbringing has been, maybe that's the reason why I am, but I don't see any other conscious reason in a way which I can answer you correctly.
Amazing, sir. That's definitely a quality that we strive to possess. And one another question that I have, sir, is in Telangana, we have education schools for the underprivileged in the remote places in Allampilli and Bir Saipeta. They're in Adilabad districts. We would really honored if you could make a visit to these schools, and that will encourage these tribal children who have a lot of energy, and that is when your time fits, and after all the commitments that you have, whenever that time fits, that would be a great honor, sir. The other question that I have is, one final message addressing BT Seva volunteers and the branch directors of all the work that they're doing in serving the community. That would be of great motivation for all of us, sir.
Of course, I think I will at some point go to Adilabad to the schools. And for me, a statement of J.R.D. Tata is something which gave a lot of clarity in my own life, which actually says that a nation does or a community doesn't create by only alienating poverty, but it actually becomes great when you give it an opportunity for the bright and the talented to actually make it to the highest level in the world. I think as much as we have to take care of our kids who don't have things and we need to provide them, it's also important that the kids who have the spark should be presented with an opportunity to shine to be the best in the world. Something which I think we should not miss in our own journey. And the second thing about message, I think you all are doing some wonderful work. Sometimes, for me, the paintings in Madurai um, remind me that um, 3 generations finished that painting. And that is what long-term vision is. You don't finish those things; you just continue working, whether you see the results or not. I think that is very, very important. So in our life, maybe when you do seva, sometimes you don't see those results immediately. But I think we think that we're putting the foundations for a 100-story building, and in my lifetime, I'll be able to do the first floor or the foundation is good enough. If we think in that sense, then there'll be a lot of satisfaction in the world. And I think all of branch managers and the Seva workers, I think you're doing a long-term work, and the results of which might come now or much later. It just doesn't matter. I think just keep working and things will happen by themselves. That's what I would think is a good way of keeping ourselves motivated.
Thank you, sir. I mean, whenever you are able to make it, we both will come down from US to to go with you along with you to our schools. It would be such a great motivation not only for us but also for our children back home. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. I know there are a lot many commitments, like especially with the Olympics coming up. You have a very busy schedule. In the respect of your time, we thank you for your time and your message to our youth and volunteers, sir. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
so
much,
Gopichand sir, and also Vishala Garu for coordinating this. Namaste.
Yeah,
thank you. It's pleasure. Thank you so much.
All the best wishes for the next competitions that are coming up, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Vishala Garu.
Thank you.